Shh. Don't tell us how you feel. Makes us uncomfortable.
When I landed my first internship last year, I was asked a very simple question. Do you drink and smoke? What I didn't know was that this simple question would determine my fate for the rest of the days that I was there. Fate of an internship on drinking, smoking and going out. Seriously, AT? Yeah! Because my answer determined if I was going to be a real part of their company or they just had to bear with me. And everywhere I work just makes me question that does anyone even cares about my skills at all, or do they just care about the fact whether I can play a male character or not? Hello atoms, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today's video is basically rooted in something that my professor mentioned during the lecture, and she dropped this topic very randomly, very offhandedly, and she didn't even discuss it a lot. She mentioned it really briefly, but it really hit me. It just clicked and I immediately noted it down in my planner. The topic that she briefly mentioned was that by the time we reach the rooms where the biggest decisions on earth are made, we realize that the rooms have turned almost monochrome. And the thing is, it hit me so hard because once you hear this concept, you start seeing it everywhere around you. So I remember during my first internship, during my first year of college, I was interning at a news channel, and I remember there was some debate going on about the timings of a new show that was coming up on the channel, and there was this heavy discussion going on, and suddenly a lot of male members, they just stood up and they went out to take a cigarette break. None of the females were invited, and it was very clear that they were not welcomed. They all went out for a cigarette break, and when they came back, they straight up went to the head and said that this is the timing that we all have decided.
I think it is right that socially I am afforded the same respect as men. No country in the world can yet say that they have achieved gender equality.
And I remember sitting in the break room and hearing my senior female employees talking about the fact that just because the males, they smoke, they get like 10 breaks in a day. They go out for 10 minutes, then they come back, they again go back for 10 minutes, they come back, they again get their proper lunch break, and whereas we only get one lunch break. Should we also start smoking? What the hell? Currently I'm in my third year, so then in my second internship, which was in the second year of college, I was working at an export house in the marketing department, and I remember once everyone was talking about going out for dinner because someone was leaving, they were transferring to some other place, and we all went for dinner, and one guy did not come. Suddenly one of the male employees, he said that this guy never comes, he literally behaves like a woman and whatever. So he said that he behaves like a woman, and I didn't really get what he was trying to say. And then as the conversation continued, I realized that what he was trying to say was that this guy never comes out late at night because he wants to go home as his kids keep waiting for him, and he wants to meet them before their bedtime. And that makes him act like a woman. It was very weird for me, but once my professor mentioned it, I actually started noticing it everywhere. And I came to the conclusion that as we go higher, women don't just slow down, they slowly vanish. So I hope you got the title for today's video from the introduction, and this video is basically about the boys club. So let's begin. So the first thing that I want to talk about is cloning the bosses. Now, the sociologist Rosabeth Moss Kanter, she created the term homosocial reproduction, and the psychology behind it is incredibly simple. The thing is, the men at the top, they don't necessarily always hate women. The thing is that when male executives look for members to mentor or to promote or trust with big decisions, then they subconsciously choose people who are like them. Because these people feel familiar, therefore they find them safe. And essentially, the corporate gatekeepers subconsciously clone themselves, which keeps the power in the hands of a specific group.
Came across this concept called leader efficacy. It's similar to self-efficacy. It's how much we believe in our ability to succeed as leaders. It determines whether or not we pursue leadership positions. It determines whether or not we persist through leadership challenges. It determines whether or not we even see ourselves as leaders in the first place. And on this construct, it bottomed out. Compared to the men, the women were in the basement. Women's lack of confidence is nothing new. Men's overconfidence is nothing new. But I want to emphasize that these students, they were young. They were age 18 to 22. They had yet to step foot in a corporate boardroom. They had yet to face the conflicting demands that derail so many women, the conflict of work and family. They had yet, for the most part, to experience gender bias and gender discrimination. And somehow they had learned not to believe in themselves as leaders.
Now, this hidden barrier becomes a massive roadblock in the traditional corporate cultures, especially in places like South Korea's massive family-run businesses or Japan's strict business-family hierarchies. The dynamic works out in the real world through specific cultural habits. So like I mentioned in the beginning, in these cultures, the big decisions like the promotion of someone aren't just decided at the desks during the day like it should be. Rather, they happen late at night during the intense drinking sessions. And these drinking sessions, heavy drinking sessions at night, are called nomikai in Japan.
Do you love drinking with your boss? Doesn't matter. Either way, you're going. In Japanese work culture, you're expected to, or more like you're forced to. This is called nomikai, and it's an after-work drinking party.
This is an extension of the workday, a business function where your presence is practically mandatory. Make toast, pour drinks for your boss, sing some karaoke. Be warned, the party may even continue to a second venue, but whatever you do, don't leave before the boss. Supposedly, it's important for building camaraderie, and cozying up to your boss plays a crucial role if you're seeking advancement in the company.
And now, culturally, because women are still expected to handle the vast majority of childcare and the household work, they obviously cannot attend these 5 hours drinking marathons. Now, the result of this is because women miss out on these 5 hours drinking and bonding sessions. They are systematically blocked out of the inner circle where the power is shared. And there is this K-drama which is called Misaeng, and this K-drama captures the brutal reality of an everyday office.
Nuts. You can't fake it. This is why I can't work with women. Asking me to make you some coffee is sexual harassment. Deciding on a date that you can't get married is also sexual harassment. Come to yours.
Census. Who said Suju?
Died?
Promise we made. Are you the only one like this? Sorry, mister, don't make a decision.
It features brilliant, highly competent female employees who do flawless work during the day, and yet at the end of the day they find themselves completely frozen out of major strategies or promotion talks. And why? Simply because they are not part of the late night drinking sessions where the male executives bond and they strike the real deals. And it beautifully illustrates how homosocial reproduction operates quietly but aggressively in the modern world. Also, there is this beautiful essay which is called Recruiting Managing Directors Doing Homosociality. It is written by Chaebol, who is from Sweden, and this research looks at how modern self-proclaimed pro-equality male corporate leaders in Europe still constantly hire other men. It describes how the definition of competence is quietly shifted behind closed doors to match the masculine traits. Also, there is another industry report which is called the Leaking Pipeline. Where are our female leaders? And this gives us an excellent real-world corporate statistics. It explicitly tracks how the hiring rates at entry level are even at 50-50, split across the global firms, but drop drastically at the senior manager transition mark.
Was symbolizing the leaky pipeline, which is a metaphor often used to describe the way how women leave the STEM field. Slowly, continuously, and unnoticed until suddenly there's so few of them that people start to realize the lack of female presence. While in certain areas of STEM, undergraduate women make up 60% of the students, as professionals and academics, and especially in leadership positions, they're less than 30%.
Humanity is male and man defines woman not in herself but as relative to him. She is not regarded as an autonomous being. He is the absolute, she is the other. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about is taking man as the standard. The academic term that we use for this is called androcentrism. And in everyday language, this just means that treating the male body and the male lifestyle as the standard, as the normal human setting, while treating the women's experiences as a footnote or as an exception.
Alzheimer's affects twice as many women as it does men, so are you only studying male mice?
Of course. You put a few female mice in a cage and pretty soon you have a whole social hierarchy.
So you're not studying female mice because their reproductive systems mess with your results?
Catch on quick.
That's pathetic, and the most asinine excuse for sexism I've ever heard. No wonder no one's ever cured Alzheimer's. The men who have spent decades trying to do it have ignored the patients who need it the most.
The thing here is that when the people who are making big decisions, like they're designing cities or they're writing laws, these people are mostly men, like we just discussed in the first part. These people at the high levels are mostly men. So they naturally use their own lives as the baseline. I will give you an example of this. So basically, there is a town in Sweden called Karlskoga, and for decades this town followed a standard routine. Whenever it snowed, they removed the snow from the roads first and later from the footpath. And also the bus stands, the bus path, they remove snow from there at the end. And this schedule followed the typical male routine, which is driving directly to a corporate job. But the thing is, it completely ignored the female routine, which involves walking their kids to school, pushing strollers, or like taking a public transport. So women were slipping on the sidewalks and getting hurt a lot. And when the town realized this bias, they switched the schedule. They started removing snow from the sidewalks first. And the results were really good. The winter slip and fall emergency room visits really decreased a lot, which actually saved the city a lot of money which was being spent on their healthcare. Now there is this beautiful book which is called The Invisible Women. It is written by Criado Perez. And she shows that because the default male framework is everywhere in the world, the modern world is literally so uncomfortable and even dangerous for half of the population.
But what a lot of people don't realise is that it's a very different business for a woman to be travelling in a car than it is for a man to be travelling in a car. But if a woman is in a crash, she is 47% more likely to be seriously injured and 17% more likely to die. And this is all because of how the car is designed and for whom. Essentially, for decades, we have used a 50th percentile male crash test dummy. And that means that the whole car is set up for women to be out of position drivers. We sit forward, too far forward, in order to see over the dash and to reach the pedals with our feet, kind of important for driving. The seats aren't designed for either our height or our weight or our muscle distribution.
So for example, the crash test dummies, they are designed with the height and weight of an average man. So because the cars are not safety tested for the body proportions of a woman, women are more likely to be severely injured in a car crash. Also in technology, the standard phone sizes are often very large for the average woman hand size, and they cannot use it with one hand comfortably. Also, the medical trials, they frequently test drugs only on the males, and they completely miss how the same drugs might affect a woman's body. They can even affect them dangerously. Ultimately, this concept shows us that when you only design for the default, you leave half of the world behind and you don't even realize it. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is promoted to fail. There is this very common term which is called the glass ceiling, and it means the invisible barrier that stops women from climbing at the top.
The Oxford Dictionary definition of the glass ceiling is an unacknowledged barrier to advancement in a profession, especially affecting women and members of minorities from rising beyond a certain level in a hierarchy, and to not make that glass ceiling that is defined by society, largely patriarchal, as your goal. I want you to aim higher, because you know you can.
And the glass cliff is basically what happens when that ceiling finally breaks, but under the worst possible conditions. Now I will explain this very simply. Women are often given the leadership roles only when a company, a political party, or a country is already facing a massive, catastrophic crisis. The position is incredibly risky. The new leader is essentially standing on a glass cliff. One wrong step, or even just bad luck, and everything collapses. It shatters. What's the result of this? If the organization fails, the woman takes 100% blame for it. She takes blame for a mess that she did not even create. And if she magically fixes the crisis, then she is rarely rewarded with a long-term stable power once things calm down. Because once things are calm, everyone wants the position, the power back. Because they were only using women as a damage control. This pattern plays out globally. Globally, not a single place where this pattern does play out. You can look at the European corporations, you can look at the Latin American governments, or you can look at any political party in the world. When a dominant system or multi-billion-dollar company is on the brink of total collapse, the traditional establishment, which includes mostly men, they suddenly step back and they hand the steering wheel to a woman. And by doing this, the old establishment gets a win-win. Firstly, they get a good PR. They obviously look progressive and modern for letting a woman lead during a tough time. And secondly, if the company or the government or whatever it tanks, then they can blame the woman. Easy. They protect their own reputations and eventually swoon back into power, claiming they need to restore the order. You know, one thing comes to my mind here. It's like a Marvel movie. Did you guys see how in Iron Man 2, Tony Stark, when his company was collapsing, after he said that, yeah, I am the Iron Man, and his company was collapsing, the shares were going down, everything was in crisis, he suddenly made his assistant Virginia Pepper Potts the CEO, and she had to step up and take all the damage control.
Truth is, I am Iron Man. You do it.
I do what?
Excellent idea. I just figured this out. You run the company.
Yeah.
Pepper needs to
I'm
run
trying to run a company.
Well, stop trying to do it and do it. I'm not asking you to try to do it. I'm asking you to physically do it. I need you to do it.
I am trying to do it.
You're not listening to me. I'm trying to make you CEO. Why won't you let me? I hereby irrevocably appoint you Chairman and CEO of Stark Industries, effective immediately. Yeah, done deal. Okay?
This is what I'm talking about. There is another Danish series which is called Borgen. It is a political drama and it perfectly illustrates how this hidden trap operates at the highest level of government.
Det er som om man står mig omkring, fordi det nu vores person ikke rigtig vil lægge sig. Ja, nu var simpelthen en anden politiker og en menneske end hende, vi kendte som statsminister for 12 år siden.
In the series, the female lead unexpectedly becomes Denmark's first female prime minister after a chaotic political breakdown. And even though she holds the highest power in the office, she is constantly cornered, she's constantly manipulated by a group of male position holders who use the fragile political climate to pressure her. The last thing that I want to talk about is called the no-win situation in sociolinguistics. So sociolinguistics is basically the study of how the society and the languages they mix. Now a double bind here means that there is a situation where you are stuck between two choices and both of those choices lead to bad results. Now for the female leaders, this trap looks like this. First trap is the leadership standard. The society usually expects the leaders to be blunt, loud and commanding, right? And these traits are generally associated with males, right? Our society has labeled them as masculine traits. Now the side B of the trap is, if the woman in power, she speaks softly, she shows empathy towards other people, and she acts warm, which are traditionally labeled as the feminine traits, then people start undermining her and they dismiss her as being weak, either emotional or unstable or unable to handle the decisions. So essentially, either she is too tough to be liked or she is too soft to be followed and respected. There is no middle ground where we, women, get both.
I don't think it's that we need more female leaders. It's that we need more leaders who act like females, and women just happen to be better at that. For too long, we've focused our attention. We falsely believe that all of leadership is about aggression and decisiveness, which are traditionally male attributes, whereas true leadership also includes things like empathy, patience, caring, which are traditionally female characteristics. So you need a balance of both. The great leaders have both. It's not one or the other.
Now, this communication gap, it exists globally. It does not matter if it's a corporate boardroom in New York or political office in Africa. Every word that female leader uses is heavily monitored all across the world. And you know, this bias shows up very clearly in the verbs and the adjectives that the people use to describe male versus female speech. A man argues passionately, but a woman is hysterical. Wow. A man gives direct orders, but a woman is nagging. A man stands his ground, but a woman is stubborn and difficult.
You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You have to be a career woman, but also always be looking out for other people. You have to answer for men's bad behavior, which is insane, but if you point that out, you're accused of complaining.
And this monologue is actually the reality of every female, all of us out there. Reality of every female, no matter where, no matter who, no matter what age, because that's how the world is. There is another example. There is this movie, The Iron Lady. It charts the rise of the UK Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, and there is a famous sequence which is focused entirely on her voice.
The main thing is your voice. It's too high and it has no authority. Methinks the lady doth screech too much. People don't want to be harangued by a woman or hectored, persuaded.
Well, it's all very well to talk about changing my voice, Mr. Reed. It's my background and my sex.
So a nice deep breath in, pretty full out against my hands. Calling Mr. Thatcher, how would you do that?
Dennis!
I want authority, I want conviction, I want belief. And breathing in and...
Dennis!
Yes.
No.
When Thatcher spoke passionately in the parliament, her natural high-pitched voice was mocked as screeching by the male leaders. And to be taken seriously, she had to hire a professional coach to train her to speak in a lower, in a deeper voice. And at a slower pace. Like, seriously guys, come on. There is this crazy book which is called Talking from 9 to 5, Women and Men at Work. It is written by Deborah Tannen, and Deborah Tannen is a world-renowned sociolinguistic, and she analyzes how speech styles in boardrooms are heavily gendered. It proves that conversational styles that are natural to women are frequently misread by the male gatekeeper as a lack of confidence or a lack of decision-making ability. Like, women have a habit of asking questions to other employees because they want to build consensus, and male take it as lack of confidence or lack of good decision-making. Lastly, I just want to say that if the world was designed as a boys' club, it was never because of us. So, all my atoms, never blame yourselves. Never ever. We are never going to blame ourselves. It is not because we as women, we lack the vision. It's because we were never given the pen. And until every seat at the table is shared, we are not just losing half our leaders, we are living in half a world. The room at the top does not turn monochrome by accident. It happens by design. The systems are not permanent. They are just the habits that we haven't spoken of yet. So let's keep breaking them. We don't need a seat at a table that was built to exclude us. It's time to redesign the room entirely. Also, I have written a piece on the same topic, and I will be putting the link of it in the description. So anyone who is interested can check it out. So yeah, this is it for this video, and I will see you all in the next one.